At the beginning of the story, we see a fight show where inmates in a dangerous prison are given a chance to win their freedom by fighting. If they wanted to get out of prison alive, this was their only way. Something similar was happening with Novak, who was currently fighting a dangerous fighter named Calypso. To escape Calypso's attack, he saved his life with an excellent somersault and launched a counterattack on Calypso. Seeing this, the audience was once again filled with excitement because Novak was now raining powerful punches on Calypso one after another. Finally, after defeating Calypso, Novak picked up his axe and prepared to take his life. In reality, the prize for winning this match was his freedom. Just as Novak thought he had won, another opponent entered the arena and attacked him with her sword. Her name was Cutie Pie, and she brutally stabbed Novak in the stomach, pulling out his organs, and then began to laugh loudly. In the end, she separated Novak's head from his body, finishing his story right there. After this, we see a prisoner named Luke Bender, who was sentenced to 200 years and had already spent 10 years in prison. Some officers called him to their office and asked if he felt he had served his time for his crime. But Luke didn't fall for their words and said that he was not fit to live in society. In this way, he was removed from the list of prisoners participating in the fight show and sent back to his cell. Next, a prisoner named Arturo Perez came before the officers, who had been sentenced to life imprisonment but had only spent 15 years in jail so far. He had come to prison after killing 57 people, but he still said that, in his opinion, his sentence was complete. The officers then gave him a chance to win his freedom, after which Arturo prepared to fight in the arena. That night, as Luke was looking at a picture of his fiancée, Ariana, he remembered the offer given by the officers. Because if he didn't want to lose Ariana, this was the only way. Anyway, we then see that the following week, besides Arturo, 9 other prisoners were going to participate in the arena wars to win their freedom. As the program began, 2 men named Samson and Moses introduced the audience to today's gladiators. The prisoner who defeated these gladiators today would be the only one to leave here alive. The gladiators were the country's most fearsome fighters, who killed their enemies using special costumes and weapons. Calypso and Cutie Pie were among these gladiators and had been part of the arena since the beginning of the season. When Arturo found out he was going to face these ruthless criminals, he became very scared because he knew they were even more powerful than his fellow inmates. Now, before entering the ring, a boy named Steve was very nervous, so Arturo tried to calm him down. Arturo said that he knew Steve had been framed in a false case and sent to prison, so if he wanted to get out of here alive, he had to stay calm. Arturo told Steve to focus on the fight instead of being afraid, but before Steve could enter the arena, fierce flames erupted from the ceiling, and Steve died on the spot. At that moment, the doors opened, and Nero entered the arena. Instantly, Arturo told everyone to stick together, because he knew that to deal with them, they had to work as a team. Before entering the arena, all the players were given an injection, and a bomb was fitted on their heads. If they broke any rule or tried to escape, the bomb button would be pressed that very moment, sending them to their demise. As soon as some cowardly prisoners tried to flee, they were killed instantly by the bomb blasts. Anyway, the remaining prisoners, along with their partners, attacked Nero, but Nero countered with his blade. When Arturo saw his companions getting injured, he, along with Goldie, launched a deadly attack on Nero and killed him. As he died, Arturo immediately stole his knife and went off to kill the other gladiators. But as Goldie bent down to pick up a knife, he realized that Nero wasn't dead. He was still alive. In the end, Nero took his life. Meanwhile, when Arturo heard the roar of the crowd, he understood that Nero was still alive. He immediately hid so he could launch a surprise attack on Nero. But just as he was about to take Nero's life, a fighter named Counterstrike appeared and challenged him to a fight. A fierce brawl broke out between them, but in the end, Counterstrike slammed him against a wall, where Meatwagon grabbed him. Meanwhile, the gladiators were killing all the prisoners one by one. When the audience got the details of these prisoners' crimes, they gave up all hope of them winning. Because of this, people significantly reduced their betting, so the owners of the show decided to do something new. They thought they would bring a hero-like prisoner into the fight, which would get the audience interested in the show again. Finally, after looking at Luke's criminal record, they chose him for the job. Luke was then brought to Wayland, the CEO of the company that ran the show. Wayland ordered his security guards to test Luke's strength. As soon as they attacked Luke, he easily defeated two burly security guards with his strength and skills. Seeing his fighting skills, Wayland understood that he was the perfect player for the show. In reality, Luke used to be a Marine officer whose boss had falsely accused him, and he was sentenced to 200 years, meaning he wasn't getting out alive. Although he was framed in a false case, Luke flatly refused to participate in the arena war. But Wayland said he was in no position to say yes or no because the court had ordered his execution by lethal injection. Now Luke had only two choices. Either he could participate in the arena, become free, and meet his fiancée, or he could get that lethal injection in his behind and embrace death. This was the only way left for Luke to meet his fiancée, and he decided to take part in this competition. The next week, he met the other 9 prisoners who would join him in this fight. As they were all heading to the Arena Wars headquarters, Luke met a prisoner named Khan, who was a drug trafficker. Anyway, the prisoners were then taken for a medical test. On the other hand, the gladiators were being prepared for the next fight. In the previous fight, Arturo and Goldie had badly injured Nero. Now he was brought to the medical lab and given an injection created by Dr. Hirata. This injection actually contained a dangerous drug, with the help of which the gladiators' bosses made them dance to their tunes. Then, the next morning, a few hours before the show started, Samson and Moses announced that something unique was going to happen tonight, because it would be the first time in the history of Arena Wars that an innocent prisoner would participate in the fight. When Khan and the other prisoners found out that Luke was a former Marine officer and had been framed, they asked Luke why he didn't tell the truth in court. Luke then said that he had taken the blame for his boss's crime. When he was arrested, he had only asked for the protection of his fiancée and her father in return. Anyway, we then see a prisoner named Billy Chambers, who was going to enter the arena with the other prisoners today. She was a renowned MMA champion and had come with the intention of getting out of here alive at any cost. As soon as the doors opened and their team entered the arena, Luke smelled gas from the ceiling. Suddenly, a prisoner named Paris was killed by a gunshot. At that moment, Nero appeared before him, and all the prisoners attacked him together. While Oshi was injured by a knife stab, Billy intervened and rained a barrage of blows on Nero, disarming him. After this, all the prisoners surrounded him and started beating him one by one. But during this fight, Nero stabbed Gideon in the head with a knife, and suddenly everyone backed away in fear. At that moment, Luke came forward and beat up the cameraman because he was getting in the middle of the fight. After this, Luke challenged Nero to a one-on-one fight, and Nero launched a powerful attack on him. But Luke defeated him in no time. When he was unconscious on the ground, Luke went to him and took off his mask, but his conscience stopped him from murdering Nero. Seeing his hesitation, Jones stepped forward and finished Nero off. After this, his entire team moved towards the next arena, where they faced Counter-Strike. He grabbed Khan by the neck and lifted him up. When Luke saw that his companion's life was in danger, he immediately struck a powerful blow on Counter-Strike. But due to Counter-Strike's special suit, his strength had increased many times over, which is why he was severely injuring and throwing every prisoner who came near him. When Alice saw Counter-Strike approaching her, she threw one of her injured companions towards him, but Counter-Strike tore open the prisoner's stomach with his arm. After this deadly attack, Counter-Strike went close to Alice and broke her neck. Seeing this, Luke immediately ran and launched a tremendous attack on Counter-Strike, which stunned him. Then Khan attacked the enemy with a blade, and in this way, they all succeeded in defeating Counter-Strike. Now Luke was the best fighter on this team, so he became the team leader. He said that if they all worked together as a team, they could get out of here alive. But at that moment, Jones interrupted, saying he did not accept Luke as his leader because Luke was not brave, but a coward. Jones said that Luke was so weak that he couldn't even fight for himself in his own false case. But Luke disagreed with him. He said that he had made a sacrifice for the country's security. Anyway, soon Jones and Luke got into a heated argument, and then Jones decided to make his way out alone and set off for the next stage by himself. But before he could enter the third arena, the gladiator meat wagon, hidden behind the door, suddenly attacked and killed him. Then Luke, as a leader, stepped forward and asked his companions if they were with him. At that moment, hearing the applause of the audience, the rest of the prisoners were filled with enthusiasm and decided to join Luke's team and move forward. As soon as they all got close to Meat Wagon, he tried to kill them with his axe, but soon Luke and his team worked together and beat him to a pulp. Finally, a prisoner named Minty finished off Meat Wagon with his own axe. After this victory, the audience's trust in Luke grew even stronger. Now, before the fourth round began, all the prisoners were given time to rest because they had crossed the halfway point of the game. Luke and his companions were preparing for the next stage when a man named Boggs came there and said that Wayland wanted to meet them. After this, they were all taken to the VIP area, and Boggs advised them to mingle with the other guests present there. Some time later, Wayland spoke to Luke in private and said that he had become the hero of the audience, and everyone wanted him to win the show. During this, Wayland mentioned that he had a very good offer for Luke. Wayland told Luke that if he was interested, he should come and meet him in the green room. But some time later, when Luke reached the green room, several security guards suddenly surrounded him, and Domino pushed him to the ground. At that moment, Wayland came in and said that thanks to Luke, he now had a line of sponsors. In fact, the owner of the channel on which this show was broadcast had asked to show the show with Luke next week as well. But Luke immediately refused to participate in the show. Then Wayland showed him a picture of his fiancée and her father's grave. Wayland revealed that 5 years ago, on Christmas Day, Ariana and her father were crushed to death under a truck. Hearing this tragic news, the ground slipped from under Luke's feet, and he lost his temper in a fit of rage. Then one of Wayland's security guards hit him on the head, knocking him unconscious. Hours later, when Khan and Minty saw Luke in this condition, they took him to the lab for treatment. Soon Boggs came there and asked how all this happened. At first, Luke said nothing in shock, but when everyone insisted, he told them about next week's arena war and also said that his fiancée and her father were dead. Hearing this, Billy and his other companions encouraged Luke, and finally, Luke stood up to take his revenge. He had spent so many years in prison solely on the promise of his fiancée and her father's safety. But when they had died 5 years ago, no one had even bothered to inform him. Now he was determined to take his revenge. That night, Wayland went to meet Samson and ordered him to keep the show running at any cost. Hearing this, Samson realized that something unique was about to happen soon. On the other hand, in the lab, as Domino was injecting the gladiators in the neck, her boss told her to inject herself as well. But instead of obeying his order, Domino only pretended to inject herself. She was now slowly beginning to think for herself, and she was starting to understand everything. Anyway, when the show started later and Luke came on stage with his companions, the audience was filled with a different kind of excitement seeing them. They were all very eager to see today's final. For a long time, no prisoner had come out of this arena alive, but today the audience hoped that Luke and his team would win the arena war and come out alive. Hearing the roar of the audience, Billy said that today reminded her of her MMA fight days, and today, too, she decided to fight with the same passion. At that moment, a girl named Holly came to interview Luke and asked him about the upcoming fight. Luke first thanked the show's producers for this opportunity and said that he had come with the intention of fighting for the people today. Then, as soon as Holly left the arena, a gladiator named Master Blaster suddenly attacked the prisoners with his terrifying saw. Luke then told everyone to spread out. His plan was to distract Master Blaster and attack him from behind. As soon as Master Blaster tried to attack a prisoner with his saw, the other team members surrounded him from behind. That gladiator killed one of their companions, so Billy, in anger, tried to snatch his weapon. At that moment, Billy rained a barrage of punches on this enemy, and Khan picked up his saw and cut him in two in a single moment. Meanwhile, Carl was very badly injured in this fight, so Minty stayed with him as his shield in his last moments. When Luke saw that Minty was deeply saddened by Carl's death, Luke advised him to keep moving forward because they were now very close to victory. In a short while, the doors opened once again, and a Joker-like monster appeared before them. He had a baseball bat full of spikes in his hand and was also extremely powerful. In a short time, he had knocked out several prisoners, and then he came face to face with Luke. Luke, showing his incredible fighting skills, knocked him out in a single blow. As soon as Billy saw her enemy fall to the ground, she got up and beat the gladiator badly, and then broke his bones with his own baseball bat. Seeing the bravery and unity of Luke and his team, the audience couldn't stop themselves from clapping. Meanwhile, Billy was so angry from being injured in the fight that she kept attacking the gladiator continuously. When Luke saw that he was long dead, he somehow calmed Billy down. Then he gave the saw to Khan, so that he could take this gladiator's life and move on. Many years ago, Boggs had also participated in the arena wars and had come out alive. He had then won his freedom and was later hired to work on the same show. He himself had been through the terrifying ordeal of this ring, so he knew how difficult it was to get out of here alive. He was wholeheartedly praying for Luke and his team to win. Now, in the arena, they faced Calypso, and Khan tried to attack him with the saw, but Calypso slammed him to the ground, knocking him unconscious. He didn't even give Billy a chance to get close to him. Instead, he knocked her down before that. At that moment, Minty, seeking revenge for Carl's death, jumped on Calypso's back, but he couldn't hold him for long. Soon Calypso freed himself by striking Minty's neck. He was about to separate his head from his body with his axe when at the last moment Luke grabbed his arm. But Calypso was no amateur. He hadn't lost a single fight from the previous season until now. Khan tried hard to defeat him, but was also beaten. Then Billy attacked him from behind with a powerful blow, knocking him to the ground. Then everyone else together started beating Calypso badly. But soon, a gladiator named Cutie Pie intervened. She suddenly attacked Luke with her sword, injuring him. Seeing this, Khan came forward to help him, and then Billy became Cutie Pie's next victim. She deliberately struck Billy's wounds and, after knocking her down, moved towards Minty. When Khan realized that Luke had very deep wounds on his back, he gave Luke some medicine to reduce the pain. A few moments after taking the medicine, Luke stood up once again and grabbed Calypso from behind so that Billy could snatch his axe. Soon they continuously attacked Calypso, injuring him badly. When Cutie Pie saw this, she ran to attack Luke with her sword, but Luke fought her head-on and soon snatched her sword. Finally, Luke cornered her and was about to take her life by plunging the sword into her stomach when Cutie Pie started begging him for mercy. Seeing this, Wayland understood that something was definitely wrong. The injection they had given the gladiators was supposed to turn them into such monsters that they would only obey their boss's orders. Then Wayland asked Domino if she had taken the injection. Domino nodded yes, but when a security guard mentioned taking her blood sample, she hesitated and her cover was blown. Domino immediately pulled out her gun and killed the security guard. But when she moved forward to take Wayland hostage, Wayland snatched the gun from her hand and said that if it weren't for him, Domino would have lost her life in the arena. In reality, Domino also worked as a sniper for Wayland, so now Wayland decided to send her back to the arena. Meanwhile, when Luke saw Cutie Pie crying, he decided to listen to her. It is then revealed that no gladiator had come to the arena of their own free will. The truth was that Wayland and his team used injections of drugs created by Dr. Hirata to control the gladiators and force them to participate in these fights. Suddenly, Wayland entered the ring and immediately shot Cutie Pie dead. Then he took Boggs hostage so that Luke would obey his every order. Luke reminded him that millions of people were watching the show at that moment. Then Wayland began to explain how he had invested money in this pathetic show so that he could clear his name in the future. At that moment, Billy saw an opportunity, suddenly picked up Master Blaster's saw, and cut Wayland's body in two. Finally, after being released, Boggs uninstalled the chips in all the prisoners' heads so that they could all be free. At last, the show had come to an end, and Boggs freed the entire team and sent them out. The audience, too, was extremely happy and now eagerly awaited the next episode.
If you want interesting movie recaps, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.